It's extraordinary how the Afro-descendant community has many heroes that we know so little about. These individuals are most certainly deserving of legendary status, yet popular culture seemingly remains silent on their story. That's why it's important for us in the African diaspora to study our own history and highlight our historical figures. And so today, I wanted to speak about one of the most heroic Africans in world history, King Bayano. What up, African world? It's Som Team here, and welcome back to another video of African history, culture, and worldview. By supporting this channel on Patreon, you're helping in the creation of these videos and contributing to this content. On Patreon, you can find more in-depth courses on African history, and with word from my sponsors, The Only Great Nation NFTs are a total collection of 5,000 digital images of 5 of the most popular kings of Africa, each carefully curated with 1,000 variations of the 5 kings. By creating these collectible goodies online of African history, there's no way that the African greats can be forgotten. With this exposure, Only the Great Nation hopes to popularize these legendary figures by spearheading a digital renaissance for the rediscovery of African history. Only the Great Nation provides a resource that all history enthusiasts can engage and ultimately promote, understand who they are and their part in history. To learn more, visit onlythegreatnation.com. Links to Patreon and Only the Great Nation in the description box below. King Bayano led the largest revolt against Spanish colonial rule in Panama in the 16th century. Bayano was believed to be a Mandinka man, or at least from one of the Mande-speaking ethnic groups. It's been suggested that King Bayano may have been a Muslim in Africa before enslavement, but we can't know for sure, as not much is known of his life prior to enslavement. In 1552, he was reportedly among 400 enslaved Africans taken to Panama. So, how did this African man become known as King Bayano, separating him from the rest? We'll get to that later. I think it's important to know that Africans were resisting every step of the way during these times. There had already been several revolts in Panama before the arrival of King Bayano. Enslaved Africans outnumbered free people in many parts of Panama. When King Bayano arrived, it was an ideal place for him to find allies. In 1552, the ship that King Bayano was on became shipwrecked off the coast of Panama, and Bayano, along with many others, were able to escape on the shore. Bayano quickly became a leader and was a formidable opponent for the Spanish. Sources written by Spanish authors described Bayano as a very handsome and strong man who spoke Spanish well. His Spanish opponents assumed that Bayano had been a king or a leader in his homeland, and they called him El Rey Negro Bayano. His followers treated him with fear and respect, and they may have numbered more than 1,200 people. Bayano established a fortress for his rebel slave community in a thickly forested mountainous region on the Atlantic side of Panama. King Bayano fought the Spanish for 5 years in diverse ways. Through diplomatic efforts, he even gained support from Scottish and English pirates who enjoyed working with him to frustrate Spanish goals. He and his men were able to attack Spanish caravans and procure gold and silver from them, which had a substantial impact on Spanish profits in the New World. Colonial retaliation on King Bayano was useless. He was virtually undefeated in combat. King Bayano's fort proved to be extremely difficult to capture. Only 2 narrow roads led up to the hill where the fort stood, and the settlement had high palisades. Inside, Bayano's followers had constructed large silos to store food in case they were besieged. He also set up a second hidden fort to protect children, women, and elderly people. The governor of Panama sent out 3 military expeditions to try and destroy Bayano and his Maroon settlement. All of them were defeated. Bayano was undone by deceit rather than by combat. The Spanish government ordered Pedro de Ursua to defeat Bayano. Ursua led 40 men to the location and offered Bayano a peace agreement to split Panama into 2 territories, Bayano's independent kingdom and Spanish territory. Via hindsight, this was clearly a deceptive tactic, but unfortunately, Bayano agreed to meet and was captured, ending the rebellion. But instead of executing King Bayano, the Spanish chose another fate. In a formal meeting with the Spanish viceroy, who lauded him for his tenacity, Bayano signed a peace treaty. His followers were allowed to retain their freedom. Bayano was freed, exiled to Peru, and then to Spain, where he lived in relative comfort due to the wealth he had amassed. Bayano died in Spain, but he remains an important historical figure in Panama, where a dam, a valley, and a river bear his name. Now, there are some conflicting reports concerning the fate of his followers, some of whom may have been re-enslaved, but the fate of King Bayano himself seems to be consistent. For one man to build a community and successfully defend it in combat against a well-organized and funded force is above and beyond impressive. The way King Bayano was treated even after his capture says a lot about how much he was respected, and testament to how the power of courage alone can at times move the spirit of your enemy. I think the life and legend of King Bayano serves as a reminder for us in the diaspora that we cannot afford to live our lives in fear. Well, I'm all out, guys. If you like these videos, you can help in its continued production on patreon.com. The link is in the description box below. Know thyself. Remember your ancestors. Peace.